One of the things that I credit with helping me get interested in rail fanning and railroads is the work of railroad photographer Winston. Now, in the mid to late 1950s, he set out on this project to photograph the remaining steam engines and operations of the Norfolk and Western Railroad. Now, I've been into photography for a little over a decade now, and I do digital photography, and starting in 2020, I started doing film photography, mostly 35 millimeter. I got into 120 in about 2021, 2022. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take a look at some night photography, railroad photography that I have done in the style of Winston. This is me going out, actually trying to mimic Winston style. These photos are taken with a digital mirrorless camera, my Nikon Z6 II. Obviously, Link didn't shoot on this. This photo is a long exposure taken with one LED light panel, just a small one. And what I've done, that's me in the frame there, I'm carrying a lantern that looks similar to a railroad lantern, and I'm pretending that I'm inspecting cars. You know, I'm starting at the N&W caboose at the end, I'm at the hopper, the coal car here. This is actually in Bluefield City Park in West Virginia. They have N&W caboose, a hopper, coal car, and then they have Norfolk and Western number 7, which was built in the early 1900s, and it was actually a locomotive that Winston photographed when it was being moved to Bluefield, actually on a trailer of all things. He was one of the people instrumental for getting it set up in the city park, so it is really cool that Winston was here pretty much at this exact spot. He photographed it in town, he didn't photograph it here, but I'm really just trying to go for the color contrast that he had in his images. This is another photo without the human element. You can really tell the difference, you know, having a person in there versus not having a person makes. Personally, I prefer having a person in it, not just because it's me, but I just think it adds more humanity to it, much like Winston would say about his images. Next, this is number 7. If you look in the bottom right corner, the way I have it set up, you can see my little light panel. It's very small, but it packs a punch. With a long exposure, I'm really able to bring out its maximum capabilities in terms of how much light it's able to feed into a scene. This is one that I really wanted to eliminate the wheels, but you get enough detail of the locomotive to really appreciate it. It feels a little weird without humans being there, but this is a really nice hardware shot. Similar, this is closer. I'm actually holding the light in my hand to the right side of the camera. This one feels very Winston-ish, whatever. This one feels like an Winston photograph to me. It's one of my favorites. And then this one, a little darker exposure, same thing. We get great detail with this. And then this one is actually the person who was telling me, my uncle was helping me that night. He's very into Winston photography and all of that. So he taught me a lot of what I know. And so I had him do a similar thing that I did with the coal hopper. Just pretend you're inspecting the locomotive and then walk back towards me. Unfortunately, the shutter length, I think this one was maybe 5-10 seconds, so you didn't get the full light trail going around like we had it, but still you get great detail. If I zoom in here, you see a lot. Doesn't really fall apart until you zoom way into there. And then this one is cool. It's a little bit of a Dutch angle. It's slightly off, but I did that on purpose. So I have my light panel to the left of the frame, illuminating number 7 here. And then here's me inspecting the locomotive with the lantern. As you can tell, I was trying my best to stay still. Didn't quite work, but it still looks very cool. This one, kind of similar, just on the other side, but instead of me moving, I actually stayed still this time for the most part. Now, this one I shot at probably f2.8. I probably shot this at f5, f5.6. And you can tell because I was focusing on number 7 here. But this one feels very much like a J. Parker Lamb shot versus an O. Winston Link. J. Parker Lamb would do a lot of longer exposures. He would also do what I would call solitary scenes. So not quite O. Winston Link, more Lamb, but still cool. This one is more classic. It's one of my favorites from the session. This is shot at f11. Shot at about 200 ISO. I think it's close to, I don't know, 20 to 30 second exposure. You get maximum detail. You actually get so much detail that you can zoom in and read the plaque here, built by Baldwin Locomotive Works, 1897. Super cool. But what makes this, of course, you have the moon in the background. You know, absolutely love it. It's one of those quintessential railroad shots. Very O. Winston Link. This one was shot very early in the morning. Now we're getting to real O. Winston Link stuff here. This is Norfolk and Western 611. I photographed this on the very last day of her 2025 Goshen runs with the Shenandoah Valley Limited. I got there, it's probably 6:30, 6:45, something like that. Ran down here because I wanted it to be as dark as possible. The sun was coming up. I actually had to do some tricks with lowering the exposure, playing around to make it look a bit darker than it actually was. But this is where I feel like I'm really in that O. Winston Link 1950s Norfolk and Western territory. This looks very similar to a lot of photos I saw him take. One of the things that's very different is the contrast. You know, the film stock he was using wasn't as contrasty as this is, but I purposely made this a contrasty image because I wanted the J, you know, the 611 to stand out versus the great gradient of the sky. But we've got the people in there. We have the sense of scale. This is one of my favorite images I've ever taken. And then follow it up, another awesome photograph, one that was very, very inspired by a lot of station photos that Link would do. You know, you have the drive wheels, you've got, of course, 611, you've got the steam going up. You can tell it's a long exposure. You have the crew member here doing their rounds. But what I think really makes this image is the person here. You know, this person here, whoever they are, they're just so entranced by everything that's going on. And I think that really tells the story of the image and of the 611 in general. Next we have a hardware shot. This is the tool car, now NNW 1407. I really like the color contrast on this. Not a very familiar Link shot, but I thought it was a really cool, what they would do is for like a roster photograph or something like that. We also have a great gradient with the sky in the background. This one is kind of a wide shot. I was kind of envisioning, you know, if I was sitting at a station watching people board, you know, the locomotives maybe a platform or two over. Thankfully they had the big ward light that was illuminating the engines, really helped it out. And then this one is a night photo charter in Spencer, North Carolina at the North Carolina Transportation Museum. We were doing a night photography shoot of Southern Railway 6133 locomotive for its 75th birthday. And while we were all getting set up, I went onto the tracks and got this photo. Just felt like a really nice 1950s Link era landscape. And then of course we've got a low contrast equipment shot. This thing was actually moving at the moment, really tough to get because I was doing manual focus for most of these because I wanted to give myself a little bit of a challenge. But this one has lower contrast in the car, so it feels more like a 1950s image. I'm Jay from American Railroads Project. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more. I'll see you next time.